these are great palettes if you're a spring. Welcome to everybody watching today. Thank you so very much for joining me. It's still eyeshadow palette month, and part of this month I thought I could do a mini series where I give some recommendations for each of the main color seasons. I just had a color analysis done in July and I posted about it on my other channel, so make sure to link that in the description box down below in case you're curious. I came out to be a true spring, so these are all eyeshadow palettes that would fall within my own color season. And I'm actually really excited because I'm going to be filming my summer palette video in a few minutes as well. And I actually don't have that many difficulties finding eyeshadow palettes that go with the different color seasons. So I'm still going to do winter as well. I did autumn the other day, so I'll make sure to link that in the description box down below as well. So whatever color analysis results you know you are, or you think you are, or maybe you just like these shades, these are some recommendations for you. Starting with some like neutrals. Of course, if you're a spring, then you're warm and, well, often also bright. And I thought that for warm tones, the Natasha Denona I Need a Warm could be a really good neutrally palette if you're a spring. Mainly because it does have some warmth, but it's not overly spicy. For the autumn picks that I showed you, I had something that was far more saturated and spicier looking than this is. I feel that this is still pretty neutral leaning, which is one of the reasons why I like it so much as a warm toned eyeshadow palette. So I think this is an excellent pick. This bottom row here looks to be a little bit cool tone, but again, like I said, nothing here is overly cool. It mainly skews more warm tone leading, and these shades are also a little bit softer. So depending where you fall within the spring spectrum, you could say, you could make all of these shades work. But I also think that there are some shades in the Let's Get Nude from Glossgods if you are a spring season. I think this is another reason why this is one of my favorite palettes, because these have some reddish undertones. It's not overly spicy. Again, it's got spice, it's got warmth, but it's nothing too crazy or out of this world. Like compared to like an autumn, I feel like autumns have more saturation and there's a lot more depth there than in the spring palettes are, so I think this could be a good pick. Oh, and by the way, I'm no expert in color and season analysis at all. These are just, now that I've had a color analysis done and I know a little bit more about it, I'm like, these would be my picks from my personal makeup collection that I have lying about that I can imagine go really well with these different color seasons. And that's why I'm also not going like, this is great if you're a true spring or a bright spring or like a light spring, because the color nuances between those palettes I find really, really tricky. So this is just, if you fall somewhere within the spring spectrum, I think there are shades in these palettes that you might like. But of course, springs are bright, and when I had my color analysis done, so many puzzle pieces fell into place as to why I like certain things, especially in my wardrobe picks. I like really bright, fun prints. It's a comment I always get on a lot of my outfit videos that I usually post on my second channel. But makeup-wise, I therefore tend to go for more neutrally things, because very often my outfit is already quite loud, and then I don't also want my makeup to be super loud. So I try to keep my makeup pretty toned down. But eyeshadow-wise, I have lots of fun bright picks, and I think something like this is by Kaleidos. This is the Glowing Iris. This is absolutely gorgeous. I think these bright shades go really, really well with, again, a spring color story. This is borderline winter, though, I feel. Purples are an excellent choice if you are a spring. There's quite a bit of purple in there. Now, I do have to say that in this palette by Melt, this is the Smoke Sessions 2, there are quite a few blue tone purples in here. And there is a beautiful true blurple, but I feel that this way you can also see that purples, especially within purples, I feel there's such a huge spectrum of what a purple can be, because a purple can have a little bit of like pinkish red and be a warm tone purple, but purples can also have this like very vibrant blue undertone, making them more cool tone. So with a purple, I really feel you can bridge gaps between seasons as well. That, for instance, if you're a winter and you struggle with certain shades, maybe getting like a purple with a slightly different undertone, or maybe with an undertone that suits you really well, and pairing it with shades that may not suit you really well, you may be able to pull more things off. is what I'm saying. But yeah, purples are in the True Spring color palette, so I think the Smoke Sessions 2 would be a lovely pick if you are a True Spring, because a lot of these shades are really vibrant, really punchy and fun, and some of them are also more warm toned, which is why I like it. But I think the ultimate spring palette in my collection is the Strawberry Milkshake from Unearthly. Were they already called Unearthly by the time I bought this? Yes, it is. They had a name change, and I have some of their older palettes which still have the old name on there. But I think this is very spring coated. We have these reddish tones, we have those bright pinks. Even the lighter shades in this palette make sense if you're a true spring. There aren't a lot of blues in the spring palette. So there are greens, there are some pinks, there are like peaches and oranges, lots of greens though. So I definitely feel that something like this, I actually have a shirt that is this color, and this, wait, I have my little card still lying next to me. I can show you. So here's the little mini card. You can see that those brighter greens, very much on point for a palette like this. So I think that the Strawberry Milkshake by Unearthly, there's a reason why I cannot get rid of this. Because even though I don't wear this all the time, I do think it's a really incredibly fun color story to play with. And now I understand why. Similar vein, I almost decluttered it, and at the last minute, as I was getting, like, trying to disperse all of the makeup I had decluttered this year to other people and stuff, I decided to not get rid of it in the end. So this is the Hella palette from Oden's Eye. It was a collab together with Angelica Nukvist, and this is such a good spring palette, and now I'm so glad I still have this. Again, it does have brightness, but it also has this really fun, like, green shade, and it's bright, but it's not like saturated bright in a bright winter kind of feel, because it does have that warm undertone. It's got a lot of warmth, and I've always explained this palette as I don't understand why we wouldn't get more death, because Hela is the Norse god of, like, life and death. So we get a lot of life, but not so much death. But now for spring, it just makes total sense. And like pinks and greens and yellows are really, really good color combinations. They're really good contrasting shades. And I definitely think also because this is a little bit more of a peachy leaning shade, that for a true spring like myself, this is an excellent colorful palette to play with. Speaking of a really good colorful palette to play with, I think the Serenity palette, I'm not sure they still do this, but by Cosmic Brushes, this was my first palette by them, and I think this has so many fun shades in for springs. It has the peachy tones, it also has like warmer greens in here. It does have teal, which is not necessarily on the color palette for a spring, but it definitely does have a lot of other shades that I think go with a spring color season analysis. So again, something more colorful, a little bit more fun. I definitely think that in this palette there are lots and lots of different fun shades that you can just play around with, and therefore I really like it. The Warlock by Fantasy Cosmetica, this looks darker in the pan than how it translates on my skin. So when you look at this, like, not swatched, it may look a little bit murky and grungy, but actually on me, all of these shades have a level of brightness that works really well, and this is a navy. And in every single color season palette has a navy, but I think this is a really good spring navy as well. So again, I think this just goes really well with a true spring palette. It's got brightness, it has a warm undertone, so it will go with that color season for sure. More Fantasy Cosmetica then, this is the Witch Familiar, which is a collab they did with Betty Bean. And this, I think, is, again, very, very spring coated. We have the reds, we have these really fun purples, and now that I have my color analysis done, I understand why I always struggled wearing pastels. I have, of course, light skin, so then a lot of people were always telling me that I should be able to wear lots of lighter shades. But I actually don't like the way I look in like a light baby blue or like a mint green is often not too great for me. But these are really nicely similar to some of the aqua tones that are in my palette that are the blues that I can wear because they have a bit of green in them. And then those pinks and purples work really well, and then the reds. Again, a really good navy, so I think this is another color story that now makes sense in my brain as to why I was not only attracted to it, but also why it works on me. An all green palette then, I do think this has a little bit of a gray undertone in some places, and I was told to stay away from gray tones at all costs, but this palette from Glam Shop, which I believe is discontinued, I think is really, really excellent in terms of an all green color story that does have warmth in as well. There are some grayish shades here, but they work really well together with the other shades to sort of add brightness and a highlighting effect. So I think that this is actually a really good spring green palette if that's what you're looking for. It's not too fall coated, it's not overly saturated, and it's not muted down by brown, which is why I think it works as far as an all green palette goes. And then we have this bright, fun pop of color, and this is the Monteverdi Cloud Forest, and I love how this palette has the box. I keep all of my Nomad boxes because they are part of the experience, and then the animals disappear when you pull it out. I think that's such a fun touch. I just mentioned how many greens there are in the spring palette that I was put into, and this is an overly green shade, and then lots of pops of bright colors. It doesn't get more spring than this, especially something like this bright peachy coral, very much in my palette. Something like this bright purple is in the palette. The pink, not so much. It's a little too cool toned. But again, another reason why I now understand why I like this palette so much. It's got a really good darker green that's also in the palette. It has this nice appley green that's in the palette. Lots of the shimmers in here are more of a green vibe. So this Monteverdi Cloud Forest palette is one that I now am really happy I didn't get rid of, because as far as a bright, colorful palette goes, I think it's an excellent pick. And I think that this can be a good pick as well. This is the Dark Dreamscape from Bella Beauté Bar. I'm not entirely sure whether it's 100% a spring palette, because it does have this depth. But I think if we ignore that, you can see that a lot of these colors, again, go really well with spring colorful shades. It's got the peachy tones. It's got the lilac-y shades that are in the color season palette, and then these aqua shades that are in the palette as well. So I think that this can work really, really well in terms of a more, if you want more depth, if you're a spring, then this can be a nice, colorful yet glam eyeshadow palette for sure. So therefore, I think that this one is another great pick if you're a spring. And those were the 12 eyeshadow palettes I wanted to feature here today. Like I said, I didn't really struggle finding anything for this category in my makeup collection. Let me know in a comment down below what your favorite spring palette is. I would love to know. Again, this isn't about something you love to wear in the spring season, but what you think will go with someone who has a spring color analysis done. So thanks so much for being here today. Remember, we are still doing daily videos for Eyeshadow Palette Month. So to see you again really, really soon in a new video. Bye-bye.